Good afternoon, everybody. Well, I'm going to do a Maxime Bernier tweet roundup, but first I wanted to show you this tweet from Faith Goldy. Quote, at Google, just paused the Faith Goldy for Toronto Mayor ads for no reason. Here's their circumventing systems policy, and then it's a link to a policy here. Total lies, one account, one credit card for one campaign, and the Google offices aren't open until the day of the election. So again, they're just burning time. Bye-bye, even if she were. I mean, I think she's popular. I don't know that she's popular enough to overcome the system that's in place, if that makes sense. I hope that she is. I think that most people in Toronto who are paying attention can see that John Tory's not doing a great job and that, it's time for something different. But I mean, hey, who knows, right? But silencing people is not democracy. This is not democratic. This is a smear job. This is just awful that it's and the fact that it's happening and all of the media are very aware of it and they're propagating it. It's just terrible. This is a retweet of Max's, and I thought it was very funny. This is it says, no problem. I live very well with this kind of division. And it's got the Liberal NDP and CPC icons, logos on the left-hand side, and then the People's Party on the right. And I think that's pretty accurate. And the biggest problem with the CPC is they need to take a position on something. Can you tell us what you're going to do about illegal border crossers? Are you going to deport them? The problem with the problem with the CPC is that they just keep kicking the can down the road. They don't have a strong position on a lot of things. And a friend of mine pointed out, well, they took a strong position on child murder, and yeah, okay, Maxime Bernier voted for that too, voted with the CPC on that policy. But the problem is they're not taking a strong position on illegals. They're not saying we should deport them. They're not saying negative things about the global migration. The global compact on refugees, which is very concerning. And there are a lot of people who are very concerned about that. If you're interested in that, look at Bill Tufts on Twitter. He's very, very prolific and he's very, very worried about it. I'm really worried about it too. It's a really big problem. So they need to take a position on things and not we think Justin Trudeau is doing a bad job. We'd do a better job. Because that's not a position. That's just saying, yeah, we'd handle it better. Well, great. How? Exactly how? What would you do differently? And Scheer said about the USMCA that I would have done a better job. But he said unequivocally, and then took Trudeau to task after he sold the dairy cartels out, but said unequivocally that he would move on dairy. So how would he have done better? Because that was the one thing Trump wanted. The only leader who was saying anything different about the dairy cartel was Maxime Bernier. And he was being dragged through the mud about it in every single press and conversation I had. Everybody said, oh yeah, milk, right? Milk. Yeah, but I mean, the problem isn't milk. The problem is if you sell it to one cartel, you're going to sell it to all the cartels, right? Who cares if you're Islamic? You've got money? Great, fantastic. Welcome to the Prime Minister's office. You do great halal meals. Thank you very much, my friend. Right? You remember that? Okay, back to Maxime Bernier. On October 19th, he tweeted, quote, our laws and police forces should protect peaceful citizens against criminals and not harass them when they try to defend themselves. And he says it again in French. And I saw this story and just another awful story. It says, the link is in the description, quote, a split second of fear, how Edouard, I think that's how you say his name, Maurice became a symbol of the fight over rural crime and self-defense. And it says, to fellow rural Albertans, Maurice's story seems to confirm their worst fears, that crime's out of control, the police are unable to do anything about it. When Mountie showed up at Edouard Maurice's home just outside the town of Okotoks one morning last February, he figured they would tell him they'd caught the thieves that he'd called them about, the ones he'd seen breaking into his vehicle earlier that morning. Perhaps they would help him search his place to make sure the intruders hadn't stuck around after he'd fired his rifle to warn them away. He certainly didn't expect the officers to arrive with their guns drawn, arrest him, and lay charges against him. So, link is in the description. I'm not going to go into it because this is a huge story just by itself as well. But I'm glad that Bernier is taking a position on this, to an extent, to the extent that Justin Trudeau decides to jump into legal problems. But this is a a genuine problem. Like, if you are miles away from a city and it's going to take the police 20 minutes to get there, you need to be able to defend yourself. And anybody who's lived rurally knows that. And the idea that, well, what happened here was a travesty. And Bernier is right. The police should be there to protect, not to lay charges against somebody protecting themselves. Our world has gone bonkers. Maxime Bernier tweeted on October 20th at 5 a.m., 4:58 a.m. Look at that. Up and up. Liberal government's irresponsible spending continues with another 20 billion added to the debt instead of returning to surplus as promised. And then again in French, and a link to the Financial Post article that I talked about the other day. Yeah, I mean, this guy looks like the NPC meme, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like the NPC meme? Just if you... I wonder if I can do this on the fly here. Oh, it's a little bit yellow. I thought maybe... He does look like the NPC meme, but they can spend and spend and spend away. And they just... No, that's not going to work. But the problem is they're not getting anything for their spending, right? This NPC... That's terrible. This NPC finance minister who is responsible for ethics breaches, just like the prime minister is, and doesn't seem to care that Canada is hemorrhaging money on his watch and giving a whole bunch of unbudgeted millions to refugees. And he's saying, oh yeah, everything looks fantastic. Canada's on track. NPCs in charge. I can't wait to get rid of you. Anyway, 300 million or 300 billion. Up and up. No more drawing. Turn that off. And the spending goes on. Oh, I can't get rid of it. I'm going to pause this and figure this out. Sorry, thanks for indulging my artist rendition of the NPC meme on the finance minister. So, an additional financial article says, John Iverson from the National Post, federal liberals stumbled into a $20 billion windfall, and then they spent it all. Yeah, so the link is in the description. Check it out if you're interested. Maxime Bernier is still tweeting 6:24 a.m. yesterday. Seems like not a week goes by without the LibCon politicians meeting with dairy cartel reps, making sure it's well publicized. They must have a lot to talk about that's crucially important for the well-being of 37 million Canadians. And yeah, you got to protect those dairy farms, right? That's a lot of quota. And it would probably cost just about as much to unwind the whole supply management as it is for what we're paying to unwind the little bit of percentage that we're allowing in so that NAFTA, now USMCA, doesn't totally destroy our economy, right? Like that's what Justin Trudeau gave away. And then he gave away sovereignty, so we can't do a deal with China, which I'm not sure we should do a deal with China, but we can't do a deal with China, not without asking Mexico and the United States. So, whoops. Ms. Freeland, out of your league. Okay, back to Maxime Bernier. 6:41 p.m. on the October 19th. Our CPC critics never praise their leader. They never argue they have better policies. They never promote their fundamental values and principles. Their sole argument against the People's Party is that we're, quote, splitting the vote over and over and over. It's pathetic. Maxime Bernier. So, yeah, I mean, when you can't... There are wonky little policy arguments we can have between CPC and Maxime Bernier. Like the CPC believes in triple talk with regard to illegal immigrants. And I wish they would clarify their position. Like, we're going to deport these people, or we're going to have, well, what they said is that they're going to find a path to citizenship for these people. So, I mean, that's not how I want this problem dealt with. So, there's a policy difference right there. And I think Max wins on the policy at this point in time. And people keep telling me, Max is running out of time, Max is running out of time. Well, he's got his policy out, or he's got his platform out. He's got his EDAs getting ready, gearing up. He's got January for the target to start recruiting candidates. I don't see how we're running out of time. I think Scheer's running out of time to differentiate himself and to really break out. And I mean, okay, right now, Scheer has the mechanism. So if an election were called tomorrow, Scheer wins. Everybody who's in Bernier's camp, I mean, Bernier's not ready. Scheer wins. Everybody knows that. And for right now, I mean, yeah, they made $28,000 or $26,000 in 2 hours on a Facebook live stream. Great, wonderful. I'm glad that conservative parties are winning. But in the next year, if Scheer doesn't define himself in his platform and we're going to remove porn and we're going to unwind marijuana, he needs to define himself in a conservative way, or he's going to lose the election to Max, which I hope he does. Like, I hope he continues to be kind of middling around in the middle, agreeing with Justin 60% of the time. And the times that he doesn't, he just says, oh, I can do it better, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. You need to differentiate. And this is how you differentiate. This is how you differentiate. Maxime Bernier, 1046 on October 20th. Immigrants who don't learn English, self-segregation, lack of communication, and cultural integration, community tensions, etc. This is where mass immigration, excessive diversity, and radical multiculturalism lead the balkanization of our country into little tribes. And he's linking to this National Post article. And it says, in search of cultural harmony in Richmond, BC, North America's most Asian city. And I've skipped down a little bit, but it says... at the annual Richmond World Festival this summer, there seemed to be ample evidence to support the claim. Oh, sorry, I missed the claim. Mayor Malcolm Brodie likes to boast that his city, home to Canada's largest immigration population, is a, quote, model for cultural diversity and harmony. At the annual Richmond World Festival this summer, there seems to be ample evidence to support the claim. Colorful dancers charmed the crowds, and onlookers sampled Syrian sweets, indigenous bannock burgers, and Brazilian cheese rolls. The music ranged from Celtic folk rock to Cantonese opera. But behind the veneer, the Vancouver suburb of 200,000 is locked in a perpetual state of intercultural disharmony, some say. Among the flashpoints, what to do about businesses that advertise mostly, or in exceptional cases, entirely in Chinese character. How to clamp down on a thriving underground ride-hailing industry that caters only to Chinese speakers. How to respond to birth tourists, non-resident expectant mothers who come here to secure Canadian citizenship for their babies. Yeah, those are all really, really big issues, and this article digs into even more of them. But like, this is BC. So why are we ceding our country? Why are we giving it away? Like through attrition and doing absolutely nothing, it is disappearing right in front of our eyes. And like, national newspapers are writing articles saying it's North America's most Asian city. Well, if it's the most Asian city, is that really culturally diverse, or is that just being invaded by China? Because at some point, there's a tipping point where people just leave, right? And I mean, that's happening. It's too expensive for anybody who doesn't have connections to money from somewhere. You know, those casinos that seem to be cleaning money. Very, very good laundromats, those casinos, right? So unless you've got a connection, you're not buying property in BC. So all Chinese characters doesn't bother you. But if you grew up in there in the 80s, I mean, it's not the same place anymore, right? Crazy. So there's some real questions that Canada needs to ask and answer. And the questions aren't comfortable and the answers are even less comfortable. Crazy. So that is the end of my Maxime Bernier tweet roundup. And, check out Maxime Bernier's tweets. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca. Check out faithfortoronto.ca. She's getting a raw deal, and our democracy demands everybody get an equal shake. I think it's funny that, it's not funny, it's appalling that somebody who is putting themselves out there and has a platform that resonates with so many people is being silenced by a media that will simultaneously attempt to say, you know, or align themselves with the hashtag Me Too or the anti-privileged, anti-whatever crowd. But at the same time, they'll just paint somebody with a brush. We don't like your ideas. Your ideas are appalling. And now it's okay for a complete media blackout. It's such a crazy world when a lot of the population is just fine with it. It's so weird. It's such a weird thing to live through. Thanks for watching. People's Party of Canada.ca, faithfortoronto.ca. Don't forget to go out and vote on Monday get out and vote on Monday. It's municipal elections, man. The municipal elections matter way more than the big ticket ones. Well, next year the big ticket one will matter too, but the municipal elections matter more to your day-to-day life than you realize. Get out and vote. Have a great day. Stay safe. Thanks for watching.